Hey there, Airstream enthusiasts. Joe Welches here, ready to share some essential tips on how to properly use your Airstream stabilizer jacks. Whether you're using manual or automatic stabilizing jacks, it's crucial to do it in the right, safe manner for your peace of mind. The reason this video actually came to be is from clients themselves asking, hey, when I first came and I bought my Airstream, I didn't quite know how to level and the process of putting down my stabilizing jacks. Something so simple could actually use a little bit of assistance, and it's nice to have a little reference material if you've never done so before. So if you're ready, let's go. First things first, let's talk about the two types of stabilizer jacks that you're going to encounter on an Airstream: manual and automatic. Manual stabilizer jacks are the traditional kind, the tried and true, where you need to crank them up by hand. On the other hand, automatic stabilizer jacks, as the name suggests, use a motorized system to do the hard work for you. Each has its benefits. Knowing how to use both is key to smooth and safe experiences. So let's start with manual stabilizing jacks. Here's a step-by-step guide to ensure that you're using them correctly. And the first step to kind of be aware of is preparation. Make sure that you have all your necessary tools and your maybe safety gear, working on a flat surface. And if you don't have a flat surface, like we're staying on sand or gravel or something, it is helpful to have a block, whether that's manufactured or just a piece of wood like we have here. The next thing to be aware of is the positioning, making sure that you have the unit over a surface that can support the weight and that you're carefully lowering the jacks on your Airstream, ensuring that they're stable and that they're secure as they're coming down. For example, this foot is somewhat free, so I want to make sure when it makes contact with the ground that it's level and I'm not supporting the weight at an angle and potentially bending the jack itself. So once I bring it down, I'm just going to insert my jack and start cranking, and I just want to bring it to the ground and maybe a quarter turn further, supporting it. See right here, I'm moving the pad like I said. And once we make contact, I'm only maybe going a quarter turn further, because these are only meant to really support the weight so we don't have so much shaking inside. They're not meant to support a significant amount of the weight or lift the frame at all. And before I walk away, I just want to do a safety check, make sure we have good contact and it's not loose or going to fall over after I get away. Because the most important thing here is safety first. Now let's move on to automatic stabilizing jacks or electric. And these are fantastic options for people who prefer a little bit of automation and not having to worry about it. And here's a few tips on having to use them. So first off, I want you to always kind of be prepared, make sure you're on level ground or you have something underneath your jack pads to make contact with the ground and ensure that you have proper footing and a firm contact. Second of all, I want you to operate the system until you start to feel the motor kind of feel the resistance, so we're not lifting. We don't want to push it any further or try to force it to lift the rear or the front of the Airstream. And also we want to ensure that the stabilizing jacks are properly engaged and locked in place when they touch the ground. We don't want the foots to be off center. We don't want it to be pressed up against anything that might bend the assembly itself. And that's part of what you do when you're kind of safety checking each 4 points of the jacks after you've deployed them. And the last thing I want to mention is these jacks do have, in the event of emergency, a crank to manually drive them up. And that's really just in the event of motor failure. That's the only reason to really have that manual crank, and it's, again, just for emergency use. There's also some great supporting products that can enhance your experience with your stabilizer jacks. And the first thing I'm going to mention is actually not something I have here, but it's Anderson blocks. And these can provide extra stability and protect the ground underneath your Airstream. They're stackable and they're versatile, and they actually manufacture what looks like a wheel chock like this, but a little bit longer, that you can pull up on if you're left to right a level and the right side of your tires are a little bit dipped, or your left side, you can back up onto these blocks, put the chock up underneath them, and effectively lift one side of the unit. The next thing that I like to mention is Lynx leveler blocks. Not only are these or similar blocks stackable and you can use them underneath your stabilizer jacks, you can also use them underneath your tongue jack in the front. And these are interlocking blocks. They help you achieve the perfect height for your Airstream, and they're also very lightweight and easy to use. So they're kind of a staple or a must-have for any RVer. And the next thing I like to mention are chocks. In addition to these chocks, people also like to use X chocks if they have a dual axle trailer, and those chocks kind of spread out from the center, pushing against the two tires to kind of minimize the wobble, so to speak, when you're walking through your unit. These also serve a good purpose if you're on a slope backwards or forwards. You place these between the tire, kind of pressing them tight underneath the tire shape to hold that firm, to keep it from kind of shifting in place, and in the event of an emergency, from rolling out of its position. Blocks and X chocks. X chocks are the chocks that kind of spread apart in the center of dual axle trailers to push the tires apart and kind of minimize the wobble that you get from walking inside the unit. And chocks themselves also do a little bit of that, minimizing the tire shake. They're meant to be inserted and kind of pressed tightly underneath the tire, whether you're sloped forwards or backwards, just kind of holding the tire firmly in place. They're adjustable and they provide just an extra layer of security when needed. Another product I really love are snap pads. These guys are a great, really tough material that actually lives on your jacks full time, so you don't have to worry about taking out pads, placing them underneath your jack. They just attach and they provide that larger, more stable, kind of more robust footprint and support for your stabilizer jacks. They're durable and they hopefully last longer than your jack, if not just as long. The last product I want to talk about is the LevelMate Pro. This tool actually helps you achieve a more precise level. This is a Bluetooth app-driven product that gets mounted in the unit, and it helps make setup easier and your stay a little bit more enjoyable. Actually, by incorporating any of these supporting products here into your setup, you'll ensure that your Airstream is not only secure, but also perfectly leveled and stable, giving you peace of mind during your travel. So one thing I also want to mention is if we're going to level it, what is the process if we just got to our campsite here? So playing pretend, if we had just got into our site and I had just unhooked from the unit, or I had not yet unhooked from my vehicle, I would first see, am I left to right level? If I need to kind of lift one side of the unit, I would want to put my leveling blocks or my Anderson chocks behind the side that I want to lift prior to unhooking. Then I'm going to back up and I'm going to place a level somewhere either directly between the frame or possibly inside on the floor, and I'm going to kind of try to back up until I've perfectly leveled my left to right. Once that's accomplished, I can bring down my tongue jack, I can firm us up at the correct height, and I want to be unhooked at this point, of course. Then I'm going to do my left, right, my front, back. I'm going to bring all my stabilizer jacks down and just kind of firm them up with the ground. If we're not perfectly level, I don't want to necessarily use my stabilizer jacks to lift. I want to use the tongue jack to lift the unit back and forth, up and down, but left and right is only going to be achieved, of course, by blocks and when I'm unhooking. So stabilizer jacks, again, they're not for leveling, they're just for supporting the weight once they're down on the ground. I wanted to mention leveling and its relation to stabilizer jacks to give you a better overall understanding if you haven't done so yet. To wrap things up, here are some words of wisdom to make your experience even better. Always double check your setup before you start running anything inside, starting the fridge, or getting comfortable. This ensures that everything is secure and stable. Always avoid common mistakes like rushing the setup or skipping the safety check. Take your time and do it right. And that's it for today's video, folks. Remember, using your Airstream stabilizer jacks properly is crucial for safety and maintenance. Follow these tips and you'll be all set for a smooth and secure experience. If you have any other questions or tips of your own, drop them in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more Airstream tips and tricks. Thank you all for watching, and happy trails.